Hello, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Cassandra, aka the Prosperous Heart. I'm a software engineer, a digital marketer, a program manager. Like my list goes on with things that I've been able to accomplish in my career, and I am so passionate about empowering people just like you to be able to grow in your career and thrive where you'd like to be if either my knowledge or my connections might be able to support you in that. So in today's video, I'm actually going to be sharing with you something that I've been learning as I'm going through the systems design certification course with Cornell. So as a software developer, as a mentor and a trainer, I'm always trying to find ways to make things more concise and easy to follow and able to help other software engineers be able to really stand out from the crowd. A lot of times I found that most developers that I've met don't really have or don't display the skill sets that would really help or really rather show that, hey, you have your deliverables crafted, you can get your easy sign off from your customers or your end user, and you have an agreed upon clarity on what's going on. It's usually kind of chaotic, and while there might be there usually is documentation, it's not necessarily as supportive as it could be, not just for the customers, but also for the people that you're working with. And so I am trying to do my best to help clarify that, not just for my team and my day job, but also for my students and myself in the solutions and projects that we work on. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing one of the things that I've been learning in the third class from that course. And so I have covered a few things. So if you actually go to this website right here, prosperousheart.com/systems design, all the lives that I'm doing as part of this class, sharing with you what I'm learning, walking you through some of my homework, you can find that right here. So I've talked about a few things, such as, there we go, such as my context diagrams. So I've gone over, what this is and how this is created. So you can see that I have my main system, and it also has a little sub context diagram for the community members. And so let me back up just a scotch. So if you haven't seen these videos, what it is that I'm doing is I am a part of a community garden in my local city. And what we do is we grow food. I'd say at least 75% of it goes to local food pantries. And so as I've been with them for over a year now, I've seen a lot of what they do to communicate and to plan or discuss. Like, it's all over email, it's all through Google Groups. And so as a developer, I'm always trying to think of ways to keep my skill set fresh, and seeing where else I can, grow myself. And so this was a project that I'm taking on because, one, I wanted to see if I could do it. Two, I really felt it could support the people that I'm working with. And three, making it an open source option, other people could be involved. It could actually grow into be a system that other gardeners in other community gardens could support and utilize. And so that's what I'm doing. So let's get back to what I was sharing. So this was the community gardener portion of it. Again, this is in that blog post that I shared earlier. Again, that is this URL right here. So this context diagram is the sub part to that. So I've gone through and I have also shown use case diagrams for them. So for example, the general system user looks a little bit like this. Right, you got your system user, they can search for a specific plant, they don't have access unless they have specific access to a community, right? Other things, relation to how this general system user works, how the different components interact, what extends them, right? And I've done that for just about everything in my system so far: general user, admins, community gardener, the plot system, weather update, right? All these things. And so from there, and this is on the first class, we did a deliverable tree. So I also covered a little bit about this, but basically I went down and I dove into at least a high level of performance criteria and data relation to those different pieces. And so this deliverable tree, the context diagrams, the use case diagrams, the use cases that were written, all kind of rolled into the second class. which covered SysML diagrams and things like that. And so I believe this was the very most recent live that I did that talked about, putting these together and all of that. And that was class 2. And so class 3, which is what I'm in right now, is for FFBD, which is the functional flow block diagram. So I'm not going to go into how to make this. I'm going to briefly show you what we've got, and then I'm going to actually dive into one of the pieces that I wanted to build with you as part of this process. So basically, a FFBD, or a functional flow block diagram, is a way for you to perceive how things actually flow in here. So for example, the overall system operation, very, very high level, we have 3 stages. We have the initialization stage, we have the user choice loop, and we have the user exit system. So F.3 is a functional flow block diagram that is, hey, this is just one item, one action item that happens here. F.1 and F.2 are what's called reference diagrams. And so if we utilize Miro and we go to F.1 ref system initialization, this will show you what I feel is my system's initialization flow, right? So the very first thing is F.1.1. So F.1.1, someone accesses the system. It then calibrates their permissions based on their permission levels, community assignments, etc. And then iterates. Actually, that should be an or, not an iteration. So let's just go ahead and update this live. So if the weather check permissions are off, so that would be GPS, maybe they also say that they don't want to check it, like specifically, like maybe they have their local, I don't know, zip code, but they have their check permission, check weather permissions at startup turned off. Whatever it is, that means that they are ending this OR loop and they are then going into the user choice loop. If they do have weather check permissions turned on, then it would go through the local weather check thing here and then go into the loop. So that is the initialization phase of this process, right? And then so F.2, which we saw over here, again, was the second one, right? So F.2 looks like this. So the user choice loop, we have our reference to F.1, which is the system initialization. We have an iteration opening, which is where we are. And then eventually at some point it does exit the system. And so this repeats until then. So once it enters into this user choice loop, it then shows accessible views. These views are basically 3 different views. That's not 4, that's 3. Okay, there we go. There's 3. 3 different views. The first one being general user functions, which is a lot of different things. The second view is admin functions. So if someone was an admin, they'd be able to view this portion of the system. And then F.2.3 is the community member functions. So there's likely to be more of these than admins, but not as many as general user, right? Because only certain people have access to certain communities. So those are the 3, and then it's enclosed inside of an or logic gate grouping, because one of those things are going to be chosen from those views. And then as they filter between these different views, the iteration will continue until they eventually exit the system. Okay. Cool. So now that we've gone through that, F.2.1, let's go ahead and see the user functions. So right now, this is how I have the general user functions, right? It's still very much like what we saw before. We have the ref user loop, we have show accessible views, but this time it's split up just a little bit different, right? So the or that was there before, we have general user, which goes into more details, but it also goes into here. So either it's the general user or it's one of these other ones, admin access community member, right? And those functions there, and they go in here. Now I could probably even close this up a little bit easier and make a shortcut like we have with these A's. I may do that. I may leave it. We'll see how I feel. You do want to try and keep these as clean and clear as possible. So I might leave it just so that there is that understanding that, hey, this is something that could happen if you come out of here and choose one of those additional views. We'll see how I feel. But we're going to keep going because this video is about actually how to draw this out. So now that we've dove in, we've got into the general user portion, right, of this system, and there's now 5 options with which the general user can access. They can either access the plant search view, the weather component, the general resources, feedback, and personal settings. So this particular FFBD is for general user functions. And what we have here is, this is not really diving into these things. Again, you can tell that this is an actual piece, whereas this one's a reference, right? So each of these f.2 dot or 1 dot whatevers, those are all different things that happen for the general user. You can also see that 2.1.2, 3, 4, and 5 all point to A. This is a shortcut, and you'll see that A points to this closing OR. So all of these items, whenever they're finished, you will eventually come to a point where they might or might not provide feedback of that particular view or component or whatever. And again, it's an iteration until they exit the system. So diving deeper more, right? We have already gone into the, or I have gone into the plant search view. So this is what I have it looking like right now. So again, very similar as before, the different pieces of the general user, and then the specifics of the plant access view. So I'm not going to go into this today. I just kind of showing you what this looks like. But if we go back to the general user functions, I do want to dive into access personal settings. So I started this out and I forgot to put this in here. So I'm going to link it because I'm using Miro. And when you make the screenshots, or rather export to images, these little arrows don't show up. Okay, so accessing personal settings. So from here, I basically, what I've done is I took a copy of the general user functions and I've cleared it up a little bit. So again, we have the user choice loop, that's the iteration, show accessible views, and I guess I should do general user here. Make that the appropriate size that I have for this. And expand that. Okay. And this needs to be a whatever that is, precursor. All right, so we have general user, accessible view, and others. So if you are not, so in this particular diagram, again, because you're trying to keep it concise and neat, if it's not a general user accessible view, it's going to go to this A shortcut, which takes us over to the closing OR of this general, actually, that's the wrong OR. No, it's not. That's the right OR because this is the feedback. Okay. So it takes us to the external OR that is this one right here. Okay, so from there, it then goes into here for user settings or whatever else. So I'm going to need to add another one in here. So the general user views rather. So taking this B, making it a shortcut. User settings or, and then if it's not user settings, we are going into, there is an extra OR that I'm missing. Okay. This is one of the fun things about doing this live. All right, so this is the internal OR. That is the external OR. Okay, now we're back in. Okay, so the question marks are the internal system that we are about to be building. So we have moved into general user. We have decided that we're going to access the user settings. And at this point in time, I don't think there's going to be any more references here. I think they're all going to be just the blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put these here as some placeholders f.2.1.5.n. Okay, so this ID that we're making f.2.1.5.n, this is based off of this one right here. So we know that everything that's f.2.1.5 is part of this diagram for access personal settings. And that's how you're able to kind of move in and out of different things to know where things are. Okay, so we are trying to fill out these access personal settings. And so personal settings are going to be things like turn on, off, app start, weather check, right? So if we wanted to check for the weather, and this one, this actually might even be a reference because now that I think about it, that one has some other stuff. It's got to check if it's got GPS. It's got to check if the other stuff is well, actually, no, maybe not. We'll move this over here. So we know that's going to turn on and off app start weather check. I know that I'm going to be turning on or off ability to be seen by community gardeners. We'll just call it visibility to make it smaller. Turn off visibility for community gardeners. And then yeah, I'll make that text different later. Okay, so visibility for community gardeners, visibility for mentors to see apprentice progress. Turn off notifications. For compost opportunities. Compost for announcements. Community announcements, rather, I should say. And I'm sure the list could go on, but for now, since this is just for demonstration purposes, we're just going to put them here on the board. And I don't know that I really need to do a lot of ors and stuff here because this is quite literally just for the ability to choose what you want in your settings. Oh, we also need to have this one might need to be this one. So f.2.1.5.n reference for set USDA location. So this can be manual. It can also be automatic if someone uses GPS. So since this is not going to be a very easy way of doing this, this is why I'm going to make it a reference instead of just one of these boxes. Notification. So we have notification visibility. I'm sure I have others that's probably in my requirements document that I've been building, but it's not complete either. And to save time, I'm just going to say that this is where we're going to stop for now for these things that we're going to be checking for. So this is now no longer needed because this was basically the placeholder for this. So when people are in user settings, this is going to be another OR. So I'm going to make a duplicate twice because you have to have your beginning and your end OR, right? So user settings are going to be coming to here. Oh, oh, that's right. I remember. And yes, that's right. So in Miro, I totally forgot about this, but I actually have to have another empty box to make this do what I want for um, gosh, what's the word I'm looking for here? To make things centered. So I'm going to set up these boxes first. I had forgotten about that. I need 4, 5 more. 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're gonna put those there. I will expand the view later, but since we are just doing this to be quick on time, I will make that nice and pretty later. These graphs, or excuse me, these FFBDs, the function, flow block diagrams, generally read from left to right and up to down. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and send to back. Bring forward. Okay. So weather check there. Extra one. So I put them all here so that way we have them in order. I guess this is an extra one, so we'll just get rid of that. Oh, actually. Okay. All right. So now I am going to lower that a bit. Open that up because it's just going to bother me. All right. So now I'm going to, oops, lock that again. Just going to bring these open just a little to make them a little easier to see as we are moving through the rest of this. We're going to move these out of the way. All right. So something else that I probably could do with this is I could probably make this an iteration, because just because they turn one of these on or off does not mean that they are going to be kicked out of here and go into these accessible views. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll fix all that later. I'm going to go ahead and actually add in an iterator logic gate here. Move these over. Add an iterator here and here. Okay. All right, so as it comes through. If they choose general user settings, then they can go through any of these or any of the other ones that may be here in the future. And then these are all going to be an immediate turn. Okay, I guess I do have to make those a bit off center. Bring that back to 4. Not sure why it's doing that weirdness. Either one of those. So I say weirdness because normally Miro keeps the same pattern that you chose before, and it's not doing that right now. Then again, my computer's been acting kind of funny, so that could also be the problem. Okay, and then of course, this one. Why? Okay. So let's go ahead and make this a little cleaner. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another shortcut to make things cleaner and a little more clear, adding to my little makeshift legend over here what these mean. See, user settings, general user settings. I don't know. Closing or gate. I'll figure out what to call it later. But here, instead of them all going into this one place and having some kind of crazy arrows coming out of it, I am moving most of them to point to this shortcut. Actually, we'll do all of them. It's an even number. So everything points to the C shortcut, and the C shortcut points to the OR. So now you've cleaned up all the arrows. You can see things a little bit better. And also, when you move these around, so that way they are in the right places, it makes it easier to move them all around. Now, yes, you could group that empty box and this one, but as you saw, sometimes I have some issues trying to get to that central dot or whatever it is, the guide that allows you to kind of make them nice and pretty and like snap to things. So maybe when I'm finalizing it, but regardless, this is how I have these permissions. And then of course, as this finishes, this is probably going to be over here because now we actually know what is in this diagram. All right, so so what we have here, and in fact, again, to make things easier to read and all of that, what I'm going to do is move these over a little bit. Oh, may have left something behind. Nope. So I'm going to move these over a little bit, maybe even move them down, like move this down and move this down. Right? I can make those equidistant, like so. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, that's fine. I'll deal with it later. And then from here, I can move all of these and that, and actually all of this. And just move all of that right on up. To, again, kind of make things a little bit more condensed down, easier to see when you are making these become images and all of that. And then, of course, also when you are fixing it up to make it look nice. Okay. So now what I would do, obviously, well, not obviously, but I would look at my notes and make sure that there were other, if I needed to include other things, that they were included as necessary. Just make sure that this made sense. I would go through this. If there were stakeholders, which there are, other than myself, but if there are stakeholders, then you would, run this by them, make sure it makes sense. And for now, for the intents and purposes of this recording, I believe that this is where I'm going to stop. So I think this might be all I'm going to do for this one. Maybe it'll change, maybe it won't. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to end. So if you would like to know more about this, if you would like to find out how I can help you craft your requirements documentation and create your project plan for your software solutions, whatever it is that you feel I might be able to support you with, I do have a monthly mentorship program. So if you would like to know more information about that, please let me know and we can see if that is a good fit for you. Otherwise, I do have a few slots available the rest of this month. It is getting mid-December, so there might be not a whole lot left, right? Because it is the holidays. So if you would like some one-on-one time with me, that is available, first come, first serve, because I do have limited slots. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day. Last but not least, once again, if you want to see the recordings that I have been doing covering the stuff that I've been learning in this course, or the certification rather, prosperousheart.com/systems-design. And I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day. Bye.